Welcome to Anticipating Christ's Return YouTube channel, a place where we can gather together and joyfully anticipate the return of our Lord. I hope you enjoy.
Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Caitlin. Today's video I'm excited for. So many people have been requesting that I talk about Elder Gary E. Stevenson's conference talk, where he talks about these are the days to never be forgotten. He talks about how the decade of 1820 to 1830, and then he talks about this next decade that we are entering into, starting in 2024 to 2034. So many people have been talking about this. I feel like so many people want my scoop on it. So here goes. First, before we dive into it and like what I studied and what I feel like after the fact, I just want to say first that I agree with all of you that have left comments. It felt, this talk, I was like, is he really saying this? I was actually joking with Jared from Christian Homestead, because I'm like, I know that he's said in the past, like, are they trolling me? And I was like, come on, Jared. Like at first, before I had a YouTube channel, I'm like, really? Like, okay. But since then, I mean, I think that the church, and I don't know if it's like the leaders from high up or whatever, but the church has social media people. And I do think that they are paying close attention of what is going on. That's not to say that they are like saying things so that we'll talk about it. But I also think that we're not very far off the mark. And that's something that I felt strongly during General Conference. Was I prayed really hard before General Conference to make sure that my channel is good and I'm doing what the Lord would want me to do. And I asked if, is the second coming a topic that I should be talking about? And or is there like too much speculation in that? And I got really distinct answers to that prayer. But when President Nelson spoke about the second coming of Jesus Christ, and then Elder Gary E. Stevenson talked about the days never to be forgotten, and that we're entering into this momentous decade, I just thought, yes, this is what I feel like I've been called to do. And then it was reiterated to me during General Conference. And then also Elder Eyring, which I know that I've talked about this before, but Elder Eyring's talk, where he just said, the gospel is simple. And there are some that make you feel like, if you're not looking at the deep or the hidden mysteries of God, you're doing it wrong and you're not a faithful member or whatever. And President Eyring's talk to me was such a huge comfort to me of just, we don't always need to be looking for the huge spectacular things. I think doing the small and simple things, great things will be brought to pass. And it's by righteous people living their righteous lives that God is going to do his work. He's not going to require us to be doing all of, he wants us to be righteous. He wants us to be faithful. He wants us to be doing, anxiously engaged in a good cause. But I worry sometimes that people think, oh, the members of the church, they're just wicked because all they do is they go to church, and they just think that they're good because they're just quietly serving in their callings. You guys, that's what the Lord wants us to do. He wants us to be faithful He wants us to serve others. He wants us to do the things that we're doing. I hope that that's making sense. I know some of you guys don't get in the weeds with like all the different YouTube channels and winds of doctrine and stuff like that. But from my point of view, I am inundated with it because I receive comments, I receive emails of so many things that are going on in YouTube. It's not that I go out and seek all these weird, different voices. It's like people kind of bring it to me, and then I feel like I need to kind of do my research of what is being said. And I want to warn you before I dive into it, and sorry that this is taking like the first 5 minutes of my thing, but I just want to say, please be careful of what you're ingesting. If it is going, and I know that I warned this in every video, but I feel so prompted every single day to just reiterate, follow the prophet. He is following Jesus Christ. He is being led by him. It is through the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is through the prophet of God, who currently is President Russell M. Nelson. That is how these things are going to be brought to pass. And the righteous members who are choosing to follow the prophet of God and doing the things. It's not going to take you following some random person on YouTube, whether that's me or whether that's someone else. Follow the prophet and listen to voices who also follow the prophet. Okay, there you go. Since I'm like taking care of business right before this, and I'm sorry, I'm going to make this really short. Please, like, I hate doing the sales pitch thing, but please like and subscribe to my channel. It's funny, YouTube gives you statistics of like everything, basically. But it said that there are like, I think it said that there were like 40, maybe that's not right. Maybe it was like closer to 20. Anyway, there's like 20,000 watchers who watch my videos like frequently or have seen multiple of my videos, but haven't subscribed. So I just ask you, if you are watching this, if you like what I'm doing, please, I know it sounds like so sales pitchy, please like, share, subscribe, comment, because it helps. I hate algorithms and I hate that like you have to do that, but it really helps tell YouTube that this is valuable content. And so please, that's like my sales pitch. I'm sorry that I'm doing that, but please, if you like what you hear, please take a second to like it and subscribe to my channel, so that it just boosts the YouTube algorithm. I know, it's so dumb. Okay, let's dive into this. First off, so many people are saying there's I don't know, maybe there's more than two groups. But I'm going to simplify it and say that there are two groups of people. People that heard this talk and said, see, the second coming isn't until at least 10 years away. And then there's another group of people that are like, oh no, like he's going to come within the next 10 years. How do I say this? I'm not one to be like, oh yeah, Jesus is coming this day. I don't like that. I don't like that from a mind. You guys know that my point of view is that I want to be prepared today, because one day Jesus is going to come tomorrow. One day he's going to come. And so I prepare myself today to be ready for whenever he comes. I get a little bit nervous with the people who are like, see, I told you it's going to be in at least 10 years, because he said that this next decade is going to be the time where like we share the gospel the most, or we do this, or you guys, like, I don't feel like he said that in the next 10 years, like we still have more than 10 years. Now, I'm not also saying that he said in 10 years Jesus Christ will be here. I just lean more towards sooner rather than later because I want to be prepared. And I want him to come back. So, okay. So he said, I just thought that this was such an interesting talk. Okay. He says, there is one decade in our history that stands strikingly supreme over any other decade, from 1820 to 1830. And then I just want to go through some of the things that he says versus the things he mentions in the next 10 years and talk about how there is like a big gap, to me at least. I don't think he mentioned all the spiritual things that will happen. Okay, let me dive into it because I'm like I know that I'm talking in circles. So he said, beginning with the prophet Joseph Smith's experience in the sacred grove in the spring of 1820, when he saw God the Father and his son Jesus Christ. So starting in 1820, Joseph Smith saw God the Father and Jesus Christ in the sacred grove. That is a huge event, and that event changed the history of the world. Whether or not people want to admit that or not, this event in Joseph Smith's life changed the world for everyone. God now speaks to men because remember that quote, praise to the man who communed with Jehovah and praise to Jehovah who communed with the man. So this moment was huge. He didn't mention anything in this coming decade that would be as big and as grand as that. But think of what is still to come. I don't think he told us like, hey, in the next decade, and I don't think he would. Like, that's the thing is he's kind of like, let me just point your mind forward to the next 10 years. Let me show you what's happened in the past. And let me point you forward. And he mentioned Olympics, but it's like, okay, I should just get to it. But he mentioned the Olympics, and it's like, okay, well, we've had Olympics, and we've had Olympics in Utah. We had Olympics in Utah after 9/11. And so it's like, okay, like we've had the world come to Salt Lake City before. So what's going to be different about the Olympics? And let me just get to it. Our decade. So he talks about President Nelson's 100th birthday. So I think this is interesting. The beginning of this dispensation started with Joseph Smith, the youngest prophet. He was 14 when he saw God the Father. Well, roughly 14 when he saw God the Father and Jesus Christ in the sacred grove. He was youngest prophet. Now we're in this decade. Our decade is what he calls it. And we have, in 2024, the oldest prophet that we've had in this dispensation. So we have the youngest prophet and the oldest prophet. Okay, so that's one thing that's significant. He hasn't said that like he has seen God the Father, but we know, I shared with you guys from this Heavens Are Open book from Wendy Nelson, President Nelson's wife, how President Nelson speaks to God, how he receives revelation normally in the middle of the night, and he is tutored by him. He communes. Praise to Jehovah who communes with man, with prophets and apostles to direct and guide the church. Okay, so he talks about that. Then, so he shows this picture of Temple Square. He shows the flags. He talks about the flags that that we refurbished the plaza on Temple Square and we're displaying international flags representing countries where the church is reorganized and unveiled. It was unveiled. This plaza was unveiled. And then we've talked about, and this was something that, going back to my comment earlier about how I felt really good during General Conference about the things that I've talked about on my channel, because I always post a video and I'm like, oh, was that like not true, or was this like kind of stretching the truth a little bit? But he talks about the granite monument that I talked about, how it has that verse from Isaiah, and it's Isaiah chapter 2, verse 2. And it says, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. So the Lord's house has been built and is being built throughout all nations. President Nelson has announced so many temples going throughout all nations too. So people are really flowing to the house of the Lord. And then he says, surely the monumental events that will occur during the next 10 years constitute one manifestation of this prophecy of Isaiah being fulfilled. Okay. So then he does talk about the number of the open houses, dedications that are planned. And then he says, even the potential of 164 temples and counting. Imagine tens of millions of you and your friends walking through a house of the Lord. The symbolic center of these events will be the rededication of the Salt Lake Temple. So I just love that. Why is it the center? Well, it's because that's where the church is, the headquarters of the church is right now. Everyone in the church recognizes the Salt Lake City Temple. There's just none like it. It's kind of just like the poster child for temples. And it's going to be amazing that it's going to, like, people are going to be able to come and visit and walk through the Salt Lake City Temple. People who aren't members, people who have always wanted to go inside and couldn't, because you've always needed a temple recommend to get inside. People are going to be able to do that during the open house. And then he said, these certainly will be days to never be forgotten. And you know that the Salt Lake City Temple dedication, that is going to be a huge day, because it's going to be broadcasted throughout the whole world. You just know that. Like, I feel, was it the Nauvoo and the Kirtland Temple? No, Nauvoo. Anyway, I think it was the Nauvoo Temple. The Kirtland wasn't in our possession until recently, but it's not dedicated. So the Nauvoo Temple was broadcast throughout all the world. And I'm wondering if the Palmyra Temple was as well. Anyway, but the Salt Lake City Temple for sure. It hasn't been announced, but like, I'm willing to bet. Not if I was a betting woman, I'd be willing to bet that they would broadcast that throughout the whole world. Obviously, you'll still need a temple recommend, but talk about that, the experience when they dedicated the Kirtland Temple and they saw angels and babes spoke. And I just imagine that something similar could happen. And I have the faith that it will, that something similar special will happen. Then, okay, and then he says the year 2030 will bring opportunities worldwide to commemorate the bicentennial of the organization of the church. Although it is too early to say how the church will recognize this milestone, it will certainly allow us to invite family, friends, colleagues, and distinguished guests to come and see, and to better understand the powerful impact the church has had in the lives of church members. Okay, so that is just 6 years. Well, really less, 5.5 years away from now. And I'm sure that they are starting to plan what is going to happen. And remember, I don't really know what they had in store for the 200th anniversary for the first vision. But remember, that was 2020. That was the year. And I'm sure at the same time, if Christ isn't here by then, I'm sure Satan will try his hardest to ruin the plans to have people come. I don't know what that means, but it just seems like whenever there's a big event, Satan tries his hardest to squash the plans. But we know that God can do his own work, and that God will be able to prevail, even in the midst of trial and hard times. Okay, and then he talks about the Olympics. So what I was saying earlier was, so I guess it was 2002 when the Olympics came. So it wasn't right after, but it was the year after the 9/11 attacks. And that, I feel like that was a big moment. The Tabernacle Choir sang. Really, the church had a front row, like people had a front row seat to Utah and the culture here, and they heard the Tabernacle Choir. They saw the prophet. I remember President Hinckley, he carried the torch. That was big. So if Jesus Christ hasn't come by 2034, really, the Olympic Games could be such a huge time. Also, I'm not ruling out the fact that Jesus Christ could be here. Really, if you think about it, and this is kind of silly, but this thought crossed my mind. How cool would it be to watch Olympics of resurrected beings with like these perfected bodies? Could you imagine? I mean, I know that sounds kind of silly, but imagine it. Imagine Jesus Christ being like, you guys, look at this. Look at what, not only, look at what I have done for you, for the world, for mankind. Because I overcame the world, so have you. And, you thought your bodies were amazing then. Look at what they can do now. And just to see the athletes, I don't know if I'm ever going to be an athlete with my resurrected body. Probably more, obviously more so now. But imagine these athletes that have trained and had so much dedication and all that. And if they had a perfect body, imagine what they could do. So I know that sounds kind of silly, but what if Jesus Christ returns by then and the Olympics are, you see these Olympians with perfected, resurrected bodies that came to just show the glory of God, what he can do, what he has done for us. I don't know. It's kind of just interesting to think about. Obviously, this is like, who knows? But that thought crossed my mind of how cool would that be? Okay. And then I love how he said, there is perhaps no greater demonstration of worldwide unity than that embodied in the Olympic Games. The eyes of the world will be upon its church and its members, affording a multitude of opportunities to volunteer, serve, and share glad tidings through kind deeds, an event never to be forgotten. And also just think of the contrast of recent Olympic Games, and I don't want, a bunch of opinions on what that was. I know it was, there were things that happened that shouldn't have, But imagine the contrast of how the world will run these games, or how the world has done things, and then to see how a righteous society will run these games. You know that the church is going to be a very big part in doing this, because they want to share the good news of the gospel. And that's what he says. He says, these upcoming moments will provide members of the church everywhere with increased opportunities to share the glad tidings of the gospel of Jesus Christ through word and deed, a decade to never be forgotten. So he talks about these glad tidings. And again, let me just say, we've had Olympics before. So when he's talking about a momentous decade, I think there's more to what he's saying than we're gonna hold the Olympics in 10 years and that'll be so cool. I think what he's saying is this is going to be a huge opportunity, but I don't think we need to rule out the fact that Christ might be here for that. So I think I made that perfectly clear, but and obviously I have no idea, but I hope people will stop saying like, oh, see, I told you it's in at least 10 years. He didn't really say that. So, but he talks about glad tidings, that glad tidings comes from the Greek word evangelion, and then it means good news or the gospel. And he says happiness and joy in this life and the next are always linked with the gospel of Jesus Christ. And there are so many counterfeits of happiness and joy in this world. But I just love General Conference for that reason, is they're saying, no, true joy, true happiness comes by living the gospel of Jesus Christ. I always, when I said the gospel of Jesus Christ, it always now reminds me of all the people who aren't members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And they always share that scripture from Galatians, where it talks about how if an angel shall give unto you a different gospel. First of all, it was Jesus Christ who restored the gospel of Jesus Christ. It wasn't Angel Moroni. Angel Moroni just told him, hey, look, I'm preparing you to receive the gold plates. Jesus Christ has restored the gospel of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ has restored and named the church as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's interesting, other Christians that want to tell us that we are not Christians because we believe in the Godhead, that God the Father is the Father, that Jesus Christ is his Son, who is still God because he is God's Son, and the Holy Ghost is part of that. They want to tell us that we're not Christian, that we don't believe in the right Jesus, and yet we carry his name. We carry his name in covenant and as a church, but they refuse to call us by the Church of Jesus Christ. And instead, they are telling us that we believe in the wrong Jesus and that we're Mormons. You guys, please, if you haven't yet, refer to the church as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Use the name. We believe in Jesus Christ. I love the living Christ of we believe in Jehovah of the Old Testament and the Messiah of the New Testament. He is our Savior. He is our Redeemer. We believe in Jesus of Nazareth. We believe in the Jesus who suffered and died and was resurrected on the third day for us. And let's let the world know. Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent, but it's the good news of the gospel. And then he talks about the plan of happiness, that it is joy, that men and women are that they might have joy. And it is through that gospel of Jesus Christ that we can have enduring joy. Okay, I want to show you guys really fast before I end this video. Let's see. Days to never be forgotten. So I'm going to click up here, and I'm sorry that you can't see where I'm like circling, but it's up in this corner where there are the 3 dots. I'm going to click here, and then normally, why does it not show you what I'm doing? Okay, so I click on the 3 dots, and it puts a drop down bar. And it says related content, which is how you get to footnotes. Sorry that you can't see this. And then, you know what? Maybe I can. Sorry, just a second. Maybe I can pull this up and it will. Oh, I don't know why it doesn't do that. Please help. I want to try and show you. I'm sorry, it's not going to show you. So you click the 3 dots, and then right below related content, the next thing is find on page. Okay, that brought up for you. So you can see this really small search bar at the top. And I want to search, sorry, I'm going to scroll up to the top. So he repeats days never, so I'm going to type in never to be forgotten. And then it pops up, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it says 1 of 12. So if you scroll down, it will then show you the many times. So it says never to be forgotten, never to be forgotten. See how it kind of like highlights in a box? There are 12 of those. And you look at the history of the church and you see all the miraculous things that had to happen to restore the church. Joseph Smith seeing God the Father and Jesus Christ, seeing that they are 2 distinct beings. Seeing Moroni, he translated the Book of Mormon. He restored the church. He received the priesthood. So I didn't even read all of these things. He conversed with the angel Moroni. He translated the gold plates. He published the Book of Mormon. He was the instrument through whom the Aaronic and Melchizedek priesthoods were restored. And then he organized the church. Oliver Cowdery described this era well. These were the days never to be forgotten. Miraculous events have continued to this very day. And then his quote, "May I be so bold to suggest that this year we have commenced a decade that may prove to be as momentous as any that has followed that unparalleled founding decade almost 2 centuries ago." I don't think it's coincidence that he brought up this current decade, that he talked about all the things that Joseph Smith experienced. We are living in such an exciting time. Are we prepared to see miraculous things happen? Adam is still ahead before Jesus Christ returns, unless I'm not privy to it have already happened. I feel like we live in a world, though, that if it did happen, like it would get out. So part of me is like, I think that's still future. Plus, a lot of righteous saints will get to go and experience that, from my understanding. It's hard to know how things are going to play out. If things are going to play out, at Adam, or if Christ is going to come and preside at a general conference, and if that's going to be a sort of Adam. It's interesting. Adam is basically Adam communes with God. We know that the dispensation heads are going to be at that great sacrament meeting where Jesus Christ presides. And that it will be a sacrament meeting. He will point us towards him and his sacrifice. So part of me is like, could it happen at the conference center? Could it? I don't see why not. But anyway, I mean, that's like getting above and beyond of the scope of the video, but we are living in days to never be forgotten. And are we seeing the majesty of it? Are we anticipating it? Do we have faith that the Lord will do his work? Do we have faith in the prophet of God? And are we listening to him? Are we heeding the words that he says? Anyway, it's exciting times that we live in. And I can't wait. I can't wait. I agree with you guys that this talk was significant. It will be interesting to see how things play out in the next 10 years. So anyway, put your thoughts and comments down below. And please, again, another sales pitch. Please like and subscribe. It means so much to me. I love you guys. It was funny. I was like making a joke and I had asked GPT. I said, could you make a joke for people to subscribe to my YouTube channel that is funny, but is like centered in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? I'll share it now because we're at the end of the video and whoever watched till the end can have a good laugh. But if you watch to the end and you haven't subscribed yet and you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe. Here's what ChatGPT said. Sure, here's a lighthearted LDS, they said LDS, Latter-day Saint themed joke to encourage people to subscribe to your YouTube channel. Hey friends, subscribing to my channel is kind of like renewing your temple recommend. You are making a commitment, but don't worry, it is way easier than remembering all of the articles of faith. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you are making a commitment, but don't worry, it is way easier than remembering all of the articles of faith. So hit that subscribe button and help me reach the celestial kingdom of YouTube. I just thought that was funny. So please, if you haven't yet, please subscribe. Anyway, it means a lot to me. And it just, like I said earlier, it just helps the algorithm. I'm trying to, with this channel, I'm just trying to get people excited to talk about Christ and to talk about his gospel and to be okay with being a peculiar people. I think that's the thing that's the most fun about this community is that we all rejoice in being children of God, and we enjoy kind of being this peculiar people who think it's fun to look forward in anticipation to Jesus Christ and his return and to nerd out about these things. So if that relates to you, please make the commitment. I've committed to you guys in doing this channel. Please make the commitment by subscribing. So anyway, there's my sales pitch. But I love you all so much. Thank you, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.